Hi, welcome to this video. My name is Eva and this video will be about trauma bond relationships, so a very dysfunctional type of relationship, and I will share with you the information that really helped me on my journey. So first of all, what are some signs of trauma bonding? Trauma bonding, by the way, can actually happen also with parents, so you can have a very dysfunctional parent. It can also happen with a child if you have a very dysfunctional child, or you have maybe also, and that's very often the case in those types of trauma bond relationships, it's often between two partners also, so you and your husband, or you and your wife, or you and your boyfriend, or just the girl you're dating. It can be in those types of situations. So some signs would be that you have a love-hate relationship with them, so you hate them so much for who they are and what they do to you, but you also love them so much for who they are and what they do for you, because that's also the tricky thing. It's usually not that, for example, your boyfriend or your girlfriend is always bad to you. They are sometimes kind, they're sometimes horrible, they're sometimes nice, sometimes not. So it's unfortunately always a little bit confusing. So, but if you feel like you really have a hate-love relationship with that person, that's a sign that it could be a trauma bond. Another one is that it could feel like a drug or a certain addiction. Especially that's if you grew up in a narcissistic family, you are basically growing up with that type of addiction for love in a way. And also if you have a narcissistic partner, it's also a type of addiction. So that's also why it's so hard to break out of those trauma bond relationships, because it feels like an addiction. It feels like someone who's addicted to alcohol or to certain drugs is really, really hard. So yeah, and also another sign is that the other person's needs are more important than your own needs. Also, again, super relevant if you have a narcissistic partner or a narcissistic parent or child, is that their needs come before you. So you oftentimes don't even know what are your needs, because it doesn't matter anyways, because your partner is the one who decides and is making the decisions. There are no compromises. So if you have the feeling that it's always about your partner and never about you, what you want, and you just want to please and make the other person happy, and for the other person not returning that favor, then it's an imbalance in a power also very often. So if there's an imbalance in how much you give and also an imbalance on power, it's very often a very unhealthy sign. Also, what could be another sign is that they convince you, so the other person and that dysfunctional dynamic could convince you that you are nothing without them, you can never achieve without them, you can never do anything without them, you're like a small child, incapable, which usually is so weird, because it makes no sense, because you can have two masters and be a doctor and have a normal job, and they still make you feel like you are nothing and you can do nothing and you deserve nothing. So that's a really sad sign. Usually very often the case with narcissistic people, because they need you to be emotionally dependent on them so that you don't leave them. So yeah, that could be a sign. And also, of course, that you ignore red flags, and also there's no shame in that, because very often probably you grew up in an environment where your red flags were your normal upbringing, so how should you know? So that can also be a sign that someone is disrespectful towards you, and you still try to change that person, or you try to make them love you. So those can be signs of a trauma bond relationship. So a really, really dysfunctional relationship that over time destroys your soul, destroys your character, destroys you as a person. It's really, really sad. And there's also a certain dynamic that happens within that dysfunctional relationship. So this dynamic is kind of a cycle, a destructive, abusive cycle. So first of all, you're kind of in a normal. So you think, for example, you have a partner and you're at the beach because you're on holidays, and then you think, oh, it's such a nice day, and you eat something, and then the atmosphere switches and you see the eyes change a little bit of your partner, and your partner looks at you and finds some type of flaw in you. So they start to be dismissive. They start to look down on you, say something very negative. And you, especially if you're in that type of trauma bond with another person and you don't know what's going on, you feel like, oh, what is wrong with me? Maybe I'm a little bit too sweaty, or my hair is not good. What is wrong with me? And then that's just when the when when it continues with the emotional abuse or different abuse, where your partner is really negative towards you, maybe says even something much more hurtful to you, and you're then crying and thinking, what is happening? I don't understand this. 5 minutes ago you were so kind to me, why do you scream at me now? So really confusing. And then comes the, so this is the rupture, basically, when the abusive partner says something really, really negative, or even if it goes beyond that, like physical harm or something like that. And then afterwards usually comes again the reconciliation phase, no, where your destructive partner wants to make up for it, maybe buys you a new phone, or buys you flowers, or buys you something, or even just says, oh look, I didn't mean it that way, I'm so sorry, it will not happen again. So the making up of it. And if you're in that type of dynamic, it's so hard to understand what's going on, because you're like an addict, not really fully aware what is happening. But the reality of the situation is that after that reconciliation phase, and after that kind of phase, and that love bombing phase again, it will just and there will be a short amount of that normalcy again, where your partner is normal again and you're normal, and it's kind of okay. But it will be this continuous cycle if you do not break out of the cycle. So the cycle is really, really destructive. It hurts your self-esteem, it takes away your self-worth. It's a really, really horrible cycle to be in, and you always deserve to be in healthy relationships. So no matter if that type of trauma bond relationship is with a parent, with a child, with a sibling, with a friend, or with a partner, it doesn't matter. You deserve to get out of that type of relationships, because it's not worth it. And it can be really, really hard to get out of this traumatic, or this trauma bond, because it is like an addiction. It's like you would not say to an alcoholic, just quit alcohol, and as if it would be so easy, because it is an addiction. And it's the same with those type of trauma bond situations, because it's kind of this intermittent reinforcement, where you sometimes get love and sometimes you don't get love, sometimes you get respect, sometimes you don't get respect, so you become addicted to it. It's like when someone goes to the lottery, sometimes they win, sometimes they don't, so they always go back because they become so addicted to it. So it's really hard to break out of it. The best thing would be to get professional help, where we have therapy if you can. Because you deserve healthy, loving relationships, and also you deserve support during the phase of getting out of that relationship. Because what happens is that with any other addiction, after you quit that addiction, your body goes through a withdrawal, I think it's called in English. So it's a really tough time of your whole body being getting back to a normal place. And it can, depending on what type of relationship it was, if it was with a parent, child, or a partner that you have been in a relationship for many years, it can feel like you rip out your own heart. So really important to have support when you do that. But I believe in you. I really hope that you can get out. If you find yourself to be in such a trauma bond relationship, that you can get out of it. It's never worth it. It's never worth it. No matter how much you love that person, love means nothing if there is no respect that backs it up in a relationship. So if you feel like you're in such a relationship, there is no shame in it. Usually you never learned it any other way during your upbringing. So there's no shame in it. So try, maybe if you can, to get help via friends, family, or the best case therapy, someone with expertise who can help you in that, who has maybe even gone through the same process, him or herself, who can support you with that. So I wish you so much love if you find yourself to be in such a traumatic or trauma bond. It's a horrible thing. But I really hope, if you are, that you can get out of there, because you deserve healthy love, and healthy love is possible. And you can have that for yourself. And life is so much better when you have partners or people in your environment that support you and respect you. So that was the video for today. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Give this video a like. Maybe you have someone that you know they are in such a trauma bond. Maybe this video can help them. And I hope you have a wonderful day. See you soon.